a novel written by Karl HEISS. The Devil is Not to Blame, Forgotten Sly Men. Chapter 7, The Discovery. My people perish from a lack of knowledge, Hosea 4, VI. The library of the venerable priest was a house of treasury with authors such as ancient Greek, Roman, Arabian, Sumerian, Mesopotamians and contemporaneous writers from all over. Apart from philosophical and theological writings, the library contained books on liturgy and some pieces of the Q-source fragmentary documents. Works such as the copies of the Didache, the Book of Kells, the Shepherd of Hermas, the Enchiridion Militis Christiani, the Nicomachean Ethics, the Antiquities of the Jews, the Novum Testamentum, the Historia Regum Britanniae, the Historia Martyrum Gorcomiensium, the Justa Danorum, the Justa Romanum, the Nibelungen Turalia were in the same location. Other documents of note were some scrolls and parchments in very obscure and strange languages, while few were written in Greek and Hebrew. In a case were notes made by Reverend J.H.S.J. on Judas Iscariot and the three temptations of the founder of the Knights Companions of the Lord Jesus and the ultimate temptation of Christ after his resurrection. After Jesus rose up from death, he was given the power to bind the devil for ages through the time of grace allotted to see the mind of men was not yet over. Because he suffered so much owing to the wickedness of the devil, the Messiah was tempted to desire that no more people should experience his own suffering. But, at the end and after all that he suffered, he obeyed his Father who wanted to see how his sacrifice will be appreciated by men before the final retribution. In his retreat center at the grotto of the merchant city of Manresa, Ignatius was doing spiritual investigations and experiments. These were later called the spiritual exercises and are the center of the Ignatian spirituality. The name Jesuit was in use before the birth of the Knights Companions. The name Society of Jesus was not the initial name on the draft of the Constitution of the Order. What could be seen as a religious conglomerate had humbly started as the Friends of the Lord. Being the friend of such powerful social and religious figure could but carry along success despite the early opposition and the lack of visible means. A succession of extraordinary events and signs conferred to the giving of the name Societas Iesu. What may not be inaccurate is that Ignatius of Loyola was a pioneer in the field of public marketing. Only a strategic marketing could account for the expansion of the Jesuits. Modern-day marketing strategists are yet to find a better formula. Ignatius had a vision of Jesus where he received explicit backing of the Son of Mary for the task at heart. The success of the company is credited to the fact that the name Jesus carries weight and power. And few people could boast of that power. Names that could open closed doors where others brought disgrace if not sheer contempt are countable at the fingertips. These names could hardly be played fault with. Ignatius was now a civilian. He had just escaped a fatal death from a hot bullet in the Spanish War against the French at Pampeluna. On his sickbed to recover, the man was still hearing distant noise of the rifling bullets, the crossing of swords and the cries of the wounded on the battlefield. All this left his soul restless. Later on, during his spiritual reading, he had a vision on the fate of the dead. He was still feeling some nostalgia of his military campaigns. He felt the absence of his battle companions and their humorous stories. For the gentleman of Loyola, recently forced to put an indefinite halt to his military career and for the knight commander impoverished by fate, Manresa was a place to meditate on his life and his future. In his retreat place, he received the unexpected visit from a lady. From the look of her dress and her exquisite demeanor, she could only belong to the high society and probably, she might be of noble bearing. Such exquisite adorned dress and her scent of perfume were expensive and were unlikely to be available at the nearest shopping center. It cost several months of several soldiers' pay. The lady, whose name I will refuse to reveal not to offend many and to keep many more guessing, was sublime in beauty. After thorough investigation, she was not only of noble birth but was the queen of a mighty kingdom. In fact, upon hearing of the great valor of this knight, she had decided on her sole opinion without consulting any of her counselors, to have this gentleman as her only man by hook or by crook and why not by threat if not by wiles. She had at her disposal an inestimable amount of wealth and power, to which I will be most unfortunate not to add her ravishing elegant beauty and intelligence of mind. Her eyes of emerald were not a smaller asset in her burning yearning to seduce and conquer the gentlemen of Loyola. Many great princes from all over the world were ready to be her slaves for life, but she did not even let them draw nigh, not to talk of letting them have the scent of her perfume. All her eyes were on Ignatius, who was the desire of her heart, her only choice. The lady proposed marriage to him so that he could be crowned king instead of embarking on the creation of his missionary congregation under the holy patronage of Jesus. Some people are termed vile opportunists and look for situation to enjoy privileges and honors. For such people, this is a proposal of partnership they would have jumped at without hesitation, but not Ignatius. He was not what many will come later to call a loser satisfied with minor opportunities. If he happened to refuse such a majestic proposal of marriage, she threatened, tougher hours awaited him in his life. But a kingdom and a crown will be otherwise his reward, shall he come to consider her more than royal offer with a favorable eye. I have come a long way to ask for your advice. In fact, I want and I am well disposed to be your maidservant. This is a noble desire, but this worldly ambition I have forsaken for a greater cause, the greater cause, the greater cause? Yes, I have destined myself to total dedication to the Lord. I am not to taste the joys of a marriage and a blessing of children of my flesh, but what I am choosing will be for the greater glory of God. I am afraid you don't have a choice. I am afraid I have a choice. I can choose and I have chosen. Chosen what? God. To do the will of God, noble lady. Then you will have me on your way. If that is the will of God, I will accept the suffering. So be it. You will suffer. Part of the many sufferings and their extent will remain a secret of confession. And a secret of confession is known only to God unless you're God. If not, sorry for your cat curiosity. But Ignatius suffered in his body and in his soul. So did many the Jesuits with him and years after him.